Hey, it's Richard the Vegan here. Just want to tell you about my trip across New Brunswick. I did it. It's been a long trip, it's been emotional, there's been setbacks, but it's been a really big learning experience for me. The first day I said goodbye to my friends Ryan and Trina, and it was snowy, it was cold, and I headed on. And I made new friends, Marty and Stephanie, and they opened up their home to me. And a guest that was supposed to stay one night ended up staying for 4. They were great hosts, so thank you, Marty and Stephanie. While staying with Marty and Stephanie in Dieppe, it snowed for 3 days and I was stuck. I couldn't go anywhere, and that was difficult. It was difficult knowing that I was getting behind schedule and that I just wasn't able to make up the ground that I'd lost in Nova Scotia. So day 2 in New Brunswick was interesting. I pushed on and ended up really in the middle of nowhere, and Marty and Stephanie came and picked me up and brought me back to their house because there was snow on the way. And I ended up staying there for the 2nd day, the 3rd day, the 4th day, and the 5th day. And then eventually the snow cleared and I was able to move on. I'm at the point where I left off the other day with the snow. There's still snow on the ground, but the sun's out, it's not too windy, it's going to be a good day. On day 6 I pushed on, and that was a big day. I did quite a lot of kilometers that day and ended up camping at a gas station. And it turned out to be a really eventful night. What a night. Around 3:30 some guy was hanging around the tent. Kind of look at the trucks here, he was looking at the building and he's just hanging around, howling and screaming. I had to call 911 and the police came and we managed to sort out a little bit of drama that was going on. Thank you to the officers who came out and looked after me. Day 7, I made it all the way to Fredericton, and on the way there I stopped off in Oromocto and I went to the SPCA shelter there, run by some amazing women, Charlotte and Tracy, and I met some dogs and I met some very cute kittens. So thank you ladies for what you do to help those animals. That night I stayed with a vegan couple, Heidi and Eric, and their dogs Madge and Mia. So thank you. Day 8 seemed like a long day. There was a lot of uphills and I covered a lot of ground. And I got to a little place called Nakawick. That was tough. It starts to get tiring. Your legs get tired when you're going uphill and the wind is against you. It rained in the morning and Heidi took me to get some new shoes. So I carried those new shoes for a couple of days, waiting for the right opportunity to put them on. Goodbye, my trusty smelly friends. You've been good. Hello, new shoes. Day 10 was the day I got to put on my new shoes. So I mailed back my old ones as a memento, and I got to wear my new shoes. Exciting times. Every day. Just uphill, it just keeps going up. Day 9, I pushed on and I stopped off at a restaurant and had some lunch. And it was pretty profound. I was in this restaurant and there was a lot of people who came into that restaurant, probably 50 people. And every single one was eating animal products. And it occurred to me that no one thought about the suffering that went into those meals. There was not one bit of mindfulness that what they were eating came from a living being. And I found that very difficult, especially on this trip. I found that difficult to accept. And people are inherently good, but that was very difficult. And all I have to think is maybe these people just weren't aware. And that's the purpose of this trip, is to show people and to get people thinking. So day 10, I was stuck in Woodstock and it was raining. But it was here I learnt about a very sad case of a dog named Diesel. And Diesel had been abandoned in a trailer and had starved to death. And I found some amazing women, Susan, Wendy and Jenny, who were fighting for Diesel. And they were fighting to get justice for him. And again, that is what this trip is for. It's for all animals, everywhere, regardless of countries, regardless of where they are, regardless of species. It's to help them and it's to be their voice. So thank you for those ladies for being a voice for Diesel. Day 11 was great. Jenny took me to yoga, and then she took me to meet a pig she had rescued called Clover. And that was fantastic. That was probably one of the best experiences in my life. To be so close to this pig who was saved. To meet the woman who's caring for her, Sarah. And to meet other animals there. To see their personalities, to see their characteristics, to see their mannerisms, to see each one as individuals. That was special. So really, really big thanks to Jenny. That was a very special day for me and something that I shall treasure. Day 12, I pushed on and I stopped off at a restaurant, and whilst there, I asked the server if it was possible to change his gloves because he'd been touching animal products. And how amazing. He ended up being a really nice man. And together with the other servers, I explained what I was doing, and as I sat down to eat, they actually brought me over a cookie and wished me well on my journey. And it just goes to show that if you explain to people, if you talk to people, people are inherently good and they want to support this cause and they want to do something. So day 13, I made it to Grand Falls. Again, more uphills. But I stayed with a wonderful woman called Rachel who put me up, she fed me, and we had some really great conversations over animals. So thank you, Rachel. Day 14, this was the day. This was the day I got to the Quebec border. I said goodbye to New Brunswick and I made it to Quebec. I did it! I made it! Yes! New Brunswick, it's been emotional. Bonjour, Quebec! That was wonderful. As I crossed the border, I was met by my vegan angels, Jimmy and Melanie. And what a feeling. What a feeling. That was my second province down. And it felt good. It felt good to be moving and to make it to Quebec. So after meeting Jimmy and Melanie, crossing that border, I ended up spending a night in their cabin in the woods in Quebec by a lake. It really doesn't get much more magical than that. So thank you. One thing that really highlights, I guess, the kindness that people have shown me is on the way to the Quebec border, I had a tyre shipped over and I knew I wouldn't make it to pick up this tyre from the post office. But a man did. So this is Mark and Marina. They picked up my bicycle tyre. They're absolute lifesavers. It's just incredible. You know, they drove, picked up my tyre. They saved me 3 days waiting for that tyre. Just incredible. So thank you, Mark, and thank you, Marina. People who I don't know, complete strangers. But they're willing to do things. They're willing to help. And it's interesting for me to learn and for me to see. And it's interesting for me to ask for help. So again, very humbling. Having to ask for help and then having to accept that help. So thank you to everyone in New Brunswick who's helped me.
You're welcome.
As I've been going along on this trip, one thing that's really stood out for me is that this trip is about animals, about all animals, regardless of species, regardless of where they are. But the trip's evolving, it's changing. And it's becoming about the people I meet. Kind people. People who help me. And this in turn is changing me. And I think it's changing my approach to how I put forward veganism and how I put across the case for animals. So really, with the second province done now, I can feel that I'm learning. As much as I'm being a voice for animals and I'm trying to show people, people are teaching me. And that's very humbling. I've had some amazing conversations and had some really in-depth discussions. And seeing how I'm changing, showing kindness, gets you a long way. So this trip is about animals, but it's also about people too. And I really hope that continues. As I move forward into Quebec, it's starting over again. I'm getting into the unknown. And I'm excited. I'm excited to see what awaits. And I'm excited to see if I can make it across Quebec. And one thing's for sure, no matter what happens, I'll always be a voice for animals. Wow, that was really a moment of like happiness.
Yeah.
Wow. Did you get it?
Yeah.